Okay, good morning, everyone. We are here with our final webinar with Tom Shay, the Science and Art of Buying. Thank you, Tom, for giving us some really great information these last few weeks. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to this webinar today. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the question box or in the chat. We'll have some information going out as well on our end. And Tom, I'm just going to let you take it away this morning. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks everybody for coming and being with us. We have a lot of information that we want to share this morning. We're going to talk about probably the biggest asset that most of us have in our business, and that's inventory. But the only time someone has something more than that, it's when they have the ownership of their building. Generally, inventory is the biggest asset that we control. And on top of that, it's the asset that we can do the most with. Can't do a whole lot with a building other than have a business. But with inventory, when you work it right, you can do a lot of great things with it. So when we buy in our business, after we go to a trade show, after we look at someone's catalog, visit with a sales rep, this is generally what we'd like to see in our store. The inventory came in the door, we sold it, and bingo, it just sold out like crazy. However, sometimes this is what happens. It doesn't go. I can remember a couple of times in our business, well, probably more than a couple of times, and I would buy something. I remember a couple of goodies. I just thought these were absolute neat, had to have, brought them in, and it didn't sell. I think I sold one of it, and I bought several dozen of it. And I remember my dad coming up and saying, "What happened here? What's this?" And Dad, I can explain this. This was the right item. One of two things happened. Either A, the wrong customer walked into the store, or B, the right customer has moved away and failed to notify me that they are leaving. Hence, the customer who wants this item is not here. This is totally out of my control. I was just making stuff up. I was looking to be blameless. Buying is part science and buying is part art. And that's what we're going to look at today. It's the combination of the two. So each of us have different challenges with what we buy. Quite often, the challenge comes from we have a habit as buyers of falling in love with the inventory. We see something somewhere and think that's neat, and we envision it that we're buying it for our home, our car, our family, or something like that, when instead our mindset needs to be, we're buying this for someone that we expect to want to do business with us, whether it's a brick and mortar store or whether it's an online store. Sometimes the biggest challenge is selling, kind of like my issue. The challenge was selling, but buying is not just determining an item, a quantity, and then negotiating a price with a vendor. There's a lot more to it. And unfortunately, there are a couple of companies here in the United States that have fairly sizable staff who market themselves very heavily to small business owners as saying, I can take and fix your inventory for you. I can control your inventory. I'm sure they can help, but when you look at what we're going to talk about today, saying that inventory is simply coming up with a thing, what we're going to call the open to buy or inventory control, or whatever phrase we're going to use for it, saying that that's the answer to all of it. It's like saying to become a masterful painter, it's like all you need is a paintbrush and some paint, and the rest of it just kind of rolls naturally. That's not so. That's not the way it goes. We instead have to take and look at controlling the inventory. So that I'm going to share with you initially, if you're thinking about using one of these services that charge you fees and a bunch of stuff like that, follow this link right here. There's 4 calculators we're going to share today. And the first one is open to buy. Again, whether you call it open to buy, open to thrive, stock replenishment, whatever, inventory control is simply a matter of numbers and projecting. It's using historical information, but it's projecting what do you see going forward that you're going to need. Buying cannot be stock replenishment, and my proof of why it can't be just stock replenishment would be the example of a business right now that is going to take and start buying Christmas goods. Many of us have been buying our Christmas goods since last January. And when we get to, say, November, early December, stock replenishment means if I sold, say, 10 artificial Christmas trees, I'd buy 10 more. Well, that's not going to work. You don't want 10 more. You want the 10 that you got to be gone, and that's it. It's the idea of saying there's a limit as to how often I want things in there. Everything should have seasonality to it, and we're going to discuss that. When you are determining what you're buying in your business, then we have to take and we have to break it into fine lines or categories. Right? For example, if we were selling men's clothing, you would have shorts and slacks, maybe dress slacks. You might have sport coats. You might have suits, short sleeve shirts, long sleeve shirts, dress long sleeve, dress short sleeve. You might have ties, belts, wallets, shoes, socks, underwear. All these are referred to as categories or fine lines. And within each of these categories or fine lines, we have to take and determine how we're going to spend our money. So our suggestions go like this. The first one is a certain percentage, and the answer is going to be 100% when we put all these together, is it's a one-time. This is it. I get one time to order it. There's no reorders to be considered for it. Second group is basic stuff. Say t-shirts, just solid color t-shirts. Again, using my men's department example, that's a basic item. And then you take a certain percentage and go, I expect certain sizes and certain colors to sell out. Therefore, I need to reorder them on an ongoing basis. My next one is there's something new out there. These vendors that I've worked with for a long time, they've come up with new items, and I need to plan ahead for what percentage of my budget can be spent on new items. Because if I spend 100% on what I think I want, and then all of a sudden I see these new items, I got a problem. I don't have money. It's just like our own personal wallets. There's a certain amount of dollars there, and when the dollars are gone, they don't keep coming back. When I go to a trade show, I should be spending time walking the aisles, looking at the place and going, what new lines are out there? New product lines are there that I need to take and look at. And then a certain percentage of it needs to be for a deal. Some vendor overproduces something. Some vendor produces something and they have a customer that goes out of business and they're stuck with all this inventory. The vendors have deals. It's a fine argument for making a close relationship with our vendors that say, when you've got something along a deal like that, if you call me, I always hold on to a certain piece of my budget to buy things like this. And then for general reorders of all kinds of other things, past the basics. Put all these together, and that's 100%. That is how I'm going to spend my dollars. And notice that I have multiple categories in there, new items, new lines, and deals that particularly allow me a little bit of flexibility so that if one of these don't come along, I can spend the money into other areas. But this is the type of format that we always use in determining how much were we going to spend on items. Now, I've got 8 aspects to buying that I want to share with people. Because again, it's not just taking and using this open to buy calculator and being done with it. Number one is you got to have the right items, knowing the right items for your customers. And there's 2 basic concepts to inventory. Some of these items are the things that get a customer to come into the door, all right? It's the hook, the come on. It's what's the attraction. It's like Apple has so many different products, and the iPhone is their cornerstone. There's a new model of it. Certain other items, like all the earbuds and all the other little gadgets that Apple has, okay, those become the gravy. It's kind of like the same thing with going to a sporting goods store. You see shoes, all kinds of different shoes. Oh, it's the newest Air Jordan shoe. Okay, that's the hook. But now when the person comes in, what about the shirts, the shorts, the workout clothing, the socks, shoestrings, any of these type of things are the other items that are the gravy, the add-on sales. It's knowing how to have these things for the customers. It's also, as things change in our business, it's knowing the aspect that we focus on who the customer is, not what the product is. Businesses evolve. We've talked about this previously. Businesses that successfully evolve do so because they're paying more attention to who the customer is, not what the products are they sell. As customers' needs change, they change. One of the great examples is a department store in Japan, been around for many, many years. Their whole focus is a customer who's over 55 years old. They're not trying to be everything to everybody. They're focusing on who the customer is and the changes that are in the customer's lives, such as the restaurant there sells comfort food, and the signs throughout their place are bigger, and they minimize having steps around the place. Things that for an older person are somewhat harder to deal with, they make it all the easier. When our business focuses on who instead of the what, we remain relevant. Kind of like this CB shop that I found out on the side of the highway somewhere out west. So as you look at it, you're thinking, yeah, they're not doing a whole lot of business at this place. Well, what's wrong? See, this business did not evolve. People still like to talk, but we just don't use CBs like we did. Truckers may still use it, but we as general people don't talk on CBs traveling across the country. We have our cell phone that we can call friends, we can call businesses that we know, and if our vehicle breaks down, we can take and call for 911 or AAA or any other car service to come and help us. This business focused on what they were, selling CB radios. They didn't focus on the thing that's most important, which is communication. My second point is pricing it right. One of the biggest mistakes that people make deals with how they price. They generally look at it according to what does it cost them, put a multiplier factor to it, and that comes out to be what the price is. That could be okay up to the point that one day you buy something in a sizable quantity, and another time you buy from a wholesaler, the same identical item. Well, and each time, do you price it solely based upon the cost? I mean, for example, if you were buying it from a wholesaler, which you expect has a higher price to you, and you multiplied that cost factor and came up with a price, then 6 months later, you're selling so much of it that you decide to go back and buy it from the manufacturer instead and buy a higher quantity. Well, now do you take because the price is lower that you take and say, well, now I'm going to lower my price? You've already proven that you could get the higher price. Why would you lower the price just because you took and lowered the cost? Doesn't make sense. When you are looking at it, we need to look at things by three different ways: dollar contribution, the margin, and the turn rate, but never a multiplier factor. Multiplier factors should never use in determining a price. Cost is irrelevant when it comes to what you're going to sell something for. So let me explain this. Let me first give it a little detail. It explains margin and markup. In retailing, we should be using the word margin, not markup. Why? Well, for one, when we have an income statement, margin is the word that is used on our income or our profit and loss statement. You have gross margin. So we stick with that word. Math-wise, my margin is 50% because my cost is $2. I'm selling something for $4. That means that the cost is 50%. My margin over the cost is 50%. If I use markup instead, markup says it cost me $2. I'm taking 100% of the cost of the item, adding it to it, and so it brings me a price of $4. Now, the $2 or $4 is the same in both examples. But when we're talking to someone, particularly a vendor, you want to say, what kind of margin are you thinking I'm going to get for this? Okay. And if they say 100%, you realize that they're not using the word margin right. When we're going to talk about it, you and I or you and somebody else, we need to make sure that we're doing it with the right words and we both understand math the same way. Well, let me go back to those three ways I mentioned: dollar contribution, margin, and turn rate. Three examples. Dollar contribution. You have a product in your business. It costs you $1,800 and you sell it for $2,000. All right. You made $200 on each of them, right? $200 on each of the sales. You go, not a whole lot there. It's $200. I sold 3 of this item over the course of the year. How much did I make? The answer is $600. Let's look at margin. It cost me $5, and let's say I could sell it for $20. Okay, a lot of margin in this item. I sell 40 of it over the course of the year. If I'm making $15 on each one of these I sell, and I sell 40 of them over the course of the year, I've made $600. It's the same $600 that I made with the dollar contribution. Let me look at the third one. The turn rate. How fast are you turning this one? Like in a bicycle shop, selling these neat little energy bars for people. It cost me $1.50. I'm selling it for $2. I'm only making 50 cents in gross profit dollars when I sell this, while I'm selling 1,200 of these over the course of the year. What's my gross profit? It's $600. So how many of each of these should you have? The dollar contribution, the margin, or the turn rate? Or perhaps I should ask you, which one should you have? And the answer is all three of them. If you use the same math on each one of these three, guaranteed 2 out of 3 times, your prices are wrong. They may be too high, they may be too low, but they're definitely too wrong. The $600 is what's sitting in the checking account. Doesn't matter how it got there. It's $600 in each of the three. I want the combination of the three. See, it's a whole lot more than just taking on something like a little service that has an Excel chart and says, how many do I buy? And that's it. The stores that make the most money are the ones who are the artist, the folks that know this concept and use this and going, here's how I know when and where to make money. I mean, to the extent, I live in Arkansas, home of the Waltons. At one point, 4 of the 10 richest people in the United States were Waltons. When you walk into a Walmart and you see inventory and you go, oh my gosh, look what they're selling this for. They're selling it for what it cost me. Many times they're selling it for what it cost them too. That's what they use to the hook, the thing to get you to come in the door. If Walmart was selling everything for a low, low price every day, then why are Waltons so well off? To the extent, a guest to our community occasionally is one of the grandsons, which he happens to be the poorest of the grandsons. His net worth is only $19 billion, and he's the poorest of the grandsons. Point number 3, salesmanship. Being able to sell the product that's there, helping the person to pick out there. This is one of the best forms of advertising a business can have. Businesses spend so much time, so much effort, so much money trying to tell people to come into their business and then have poor quality staff help. People who are not really selling, people are just standing there and ready to ring a cash register. We don't have a lot of products in our businesses that are going to sell themselves, right? It takes effort. How about this one, huh? Does that say someone went to a restaurant and got no service? I know that is not me. I did not do that. Very few items will sell something along with it. My example from the restaurant happens more times than not. You go in, they hand you a menu, they come back later after you've looked at the menu. Now they want to tell you what the specials. Now that you spent 10 minutes looking at the menu, now they want to tell you what the specials are of the day. Why didn't you tell me when I sat down? So I might take one of those right off the bat. And then when we're about done eating, the wait staff walks over and lays a bill in front of me. Hey, no hurry, I'll take this when you're ready. And I would generally say, don't you sell desserts here? Oh yeah, do you want dessert? And my thought is, you're a wait staff. The amount of money you personally make is based upon how much you sell. Why aren't you trying to sell me dessert? Why aren't you trying to sell me something to take home? Why do you just take and leave it with that? It's the same thing in any product that we sell. Why don't we make an effort to sell more things? And as far as that picture from the kid who had the unassembled snowman for sale, yeah, I want to hire that kid too. Having the right quantity. It's knowing when you should say when. Knowing when to stop buying. When I was a kid, My aunt dated a guy who was a wrestling promoter. Tuesday nights in our hometown, the wrestling would come, and I would get a front row seat with my aunt, and I would watch it. And it went something like this: there was always a good guy and a bad guy, and the match is going on, and the bad guy is winning. And at some point in time, the good guy kind of sucks it up, and he's ready to go, and he grabs the bad guy and he throws him across the ring. The guy bounces off the rope, comes back, and the good guy smacks him just like that, and down goes the bad guy. Good guy stands over him, goes, roar, and the crowd goes crazy. He picks up the bad guy, slings him against a different rope. The guy comes off and he hits him with a drop kick with a, just like this picture here, and down goes the bad guy. Crowd goes crazy, and the good guy goes, roar me. And as a kid on the sidelines, I will say, stop now. Don't do this again. Okay, he's figuring it out. It's time to, go 1, 2, 3, match is over. But no, the good guy picks him up again, slings him against the rope. The guy comes back off the ropes and hits the good guy. The good guy goes down. 1, 2, 3, match is over, and the bad guy wins. And I go, come on, dude. We see this all the time. Know when to say when. So what has wrestling got to do with it? Know when to say when. I don't want to take and have inventory on hand as the season winds down. I don't want to be the store that's got the best selection of 4th of July merchandise on the 3rd or 4th of July. Okay, I want to have sold out. I want to be done and leave it to the other stores who are marking down their merchandise. If you compete against someone like a Walmart or a Target, all right, they're marking their stuff down like next week for 4th of July. They want rid of it. Saying that I've got the best inventory right before the event is not good. It's not the way to do it. If you take and start discounting things, particularly when you have low margins and you run these giant clearance sales, what's happening is that you're taking the profit that you made off the initial sales when you got all of your money, and you are giving it away when you're selling of the last part. I'm gonna give you some real example math to this one. Someone spent $7,000 and had a 30% gross margin. They sold 60% of what they bought, and they made $1,800, okay? 30% margin, got an $1,800 gross profit. But then they started clearing the inventory, and they cleared off the inventory with a 60% off. Well, you're only making 30% to begin with. So now all of a sudden, you're not making money, you're losing money. You had made $1,800 before you started the clearance sale. Now you're losing money. $1,400 is all you made at this point, and it produces a gross margin that is just barely above half of what you started with. Why? Why would you do this? This does not make sense. All right. Instead, many of them use a calculator that we have. Let's see, right here. This calculator, if you use this one, right there, like that, this calculator is going to take and help eliminate this. This is planning markdowns. I'm going to start with this margin. And when I get to this date, when I get to a certain amount of inventory that I've sold, this is when I'm going to mark the things down. So we have essentially copied that calculator, and it's on our website, and it's for free. Okay? All you got to do is start putting in the numbers, and it will show you how to plan your markdowns. Number 5 on my list, it's knowing who the right customer is. No one in any business is everything to everybody. Okay? If that were so, why is it when there's a Home Depot, why is there a Lowe's or Menards located across the street? When there is a Walmart, why is there a Target across the street? All you got to do is to walk into each of these 4 businesses and realize they have a very different appeal. Yet for most people, they would look at it and say, they're selling the same stuff. It's knowing who the right customer is and knowing how to take and target the right customer. You just got to know who your right customer is. For example, in knowing the right customer, in the banking industry, banks have learned this lesson. When they sell one product, say a checking account, most common, when they sell a checking account to someone, get them to open the account with their bank, there's a 90% chance that at some point in time, you are going to leave that bank. They're going to do something that's going to tick you off, or you're going to get attracted by a deal that some other bank is offering, and you'll move your account. However, when a bank can sell you a checking account, a debit card, a credit card, a safe deposit box, a home improvement loan, a car loan, any of the other things that they sell, when a bank can get to 5 different items that they are selling to you, now it's a 90% chance you will not leave because you are so tied into it. An example comes from a friend of mine. This is Shelly. Shelly has a store and they sell knitting supplies. Really neat store. And one of the things she noticed was that her customer was in the age, quite frequently, 40, 50 years old. Now, this little necklace that she sells has nothing to do with knitting. It has everything to do with her customers because the uniqueness of this necklace is that you put it in the refrigerator. So women, think about this. You're in the 40 to 50 age range, all right? Situations of hot flashes. And on a hot summer day, you're out wandering around and you're wearing this necklace, which is designed to help keep you cool and comfortable. She also noticed in her business that as these women came in, they often had daughters and they were teaching their daughters how to knit. And Shelly had seen around town these really neat backpacks. I don't know who makes them, but it kind of reminds me of like a Vera Bradley type of pattern. So she added backpacks. The concept behind this is that, again, it has nothing to do with knitting. But here's a mother coming in with a different need. Here's a daughter who comes in, an opportunity to sell to them as well. What are you selling? 1 item to 5 people or 5 items to 1 person? Selling 5 to 1 is far, far easier than selling 1 to 5. It takes a whole lot more people, but having more things that the person wants. This kind of feeds back on the sell the who, don't sell the what. My 6th point is the right location or the right display. So when you walk into a grocery store, this is kind of neat, all right? It looks cool. All right, it's before a Super Bowl, and the folks at Pepsi have made this really neat display. Well, there's a neatness to it because it's like, wow, that's impressive. What's not neat about it is the tendency of how customers shop. See, when you walk into the store, the first time you see that, you're going to think, awesome. The second time you see it, you still like it, and you may point it out to somebody. But after about the 3rd time, each time you come into that store, this gets old. It gets to the point it becomes invisible. The first store I worked in for our family when I was an adult was a great big store. It had 3 doors, 2 that opened into a mall and 1 that opened up to a separate parking lot. We were in essence a community department store. The store was 26,000 square feet. One of my first jobs that my dad assigned me was the door maintenance, not cleaning, that type of stuff, but at each of our doors, we had a table. The table was 4 foot by 8 foot, okay, 32 square feet. 3 tables, 96 square feet. Every Monday, an item was to be put on that table. It was there for 3 days. It could be something that was just new to the store. It could be something that we wanted to get rid of. It could be something that was very unique. It could be all kinds of reasons as to why it was there. But the key is it was only there for 3 days. Thursday morning, the item went away and something else came. Different part of the store, and we continued this. So being closed on Sunday at that point in time, 3 days followed by 3 days. And one of my responsibilities was a chart. How many did I put on that table? Did I have to add any stock to it because we sold so many? What were the sales that we made on it? How many were left? How many did I take off? Total, how much sold in dollars? Did this for quite a while. And I can remember at some point in time saying to my dad, okay, this was neat, this was fun, but here's the deal, Dad. When do I get to do something real? When do I get another job? My dad pointed out the value of what I was doing. And he said, look at what the sales are here on these three tables. The three tables, 96 square feet, produced 5% of what was sold in the store because they became hot items that every 3 days something new was there. The rest of the store, 25,904 square feet, produced everything else. These were like just little machines that were just great on selling. Much better than doing the giant display like this. Keeping your store fresh when people walk by your store so that the windows and the entranceway to your store always looks new and different, particularly with clothing stores. If I walk in a store and I see something, it gets my attention. If I walk back in a second time and I see the same item again, it doesn't get my attention. I don't think your store's added anything new to what it has. So the right location, the right display. And you also have to consider, sometimes the signage. Okay, yes, this is a Home Depot that I caught this sign at, and I thought, not really sure what part of this we're looking for a demonstration from a toilet, but oh well, maybe it was just meant to be kind of funny. In relation to where is the inventory to the point of sale. So this bakery, here's the problem with the bakery. You can see in the deep left, you see the door to come into the business. All right, so you come in, your line is on your left, and you take and you see the chalkboards on the wall there, and you order what you want to eat. And then you see all those nicky-nacky things like coffee and stuff that's right around there. And then the next thing you see, after you've paid for it, because where all the nicky-nacky stuff is, where the cash register is, now you come to the counter that's got the cold goods in it. I'm thinking this is a Starbucks. Panera Bread does the same mistake. See, the traffic's backwards. I've paid for what I want, and now you move me by all the foods. The line's backwards. You need to put me to the foods first, see everything you got, and then the last thing needs to be the cash register. Also of value in this situation is, what do you put at the counter? Sales reps have been known for years and years to say, this will sell like hotcakes if you put it right at the cash register. The problem is you're expecting two things. One, sales help standing there. Well, unfortunately, a lot of them are just standing there doing nothing, waiting for you to bring the items. I'd rather have the merchandise out somewhere where I'm making a sale, but there can be occasions where something right at the checkout has value. It's an add-on. It's an impulse item. And we know that the more a customer is spending in the store, the more they are open to the idea of seeing something there as a last-minute pickup item. Number 7 on my list, it's knowing the right time of year. Now, some items don't have it. I pulled this off weather a couple of months ago. So knowing for those people who are living in Florida in April, yes, there was not any snow expected in Tampa, Florida, where it was probably somewhere around 80 degrees. All right, businesses do the same thing. It was in the Houston airport. And fairly recently, the Houston airport was selling these bomber jackets. And I'm looking outside and going, it's 90 degrees out there, and you're selling bomber jackets. Where is somebody flying to from Houston, Texas, that they might possibly need this? I mean, about the only candidate is going to be somewhere in Alaska. There's no airplane travel for visitors to go to Canada at this point. Why would you put these thick, furry collared jackets in the summer? Totally missed it. Everything has a season in the way that it is sold. The concept is taught, I think, when it was first taught, is in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. If you're an older person, older than 60, you remember the Byrds singing a song in 1965 that was called Turn, Turn, Turn. Okay, that's the concept we're looking at here. Turn, turn, turn. To everything, there's a season, a time to love, a time to hate. When you get an item new in your store, you love it. When it has sat there for 90 days and you haven't sold the first one, it's a time to hate. There's a time to keep and a time to get rid of, a time to want, a time to want, and a time to want no more. So as I read Ecclesiastes 3, I think that's the first guidance lesson for learning how to buy inventory for a business, knowing what to have when. Now, one side note though to that one. Somewhere in the near future, very near future, we're going to come to a time where businesses are putting out winter jackets, right? So let's say it's going to be somewhere like later in August. There is a process that's called mental layaway. And the idea behind mental layaway is that you come into a store and you see a display, let's say sweaters or coats. You're not ready to buy it, but you're seeing that the store has a beautiful display of this merchandise. And then we have a really cold snap in October and November. You don't go grabbing a newspaper trying to find, oh, who's got sweaters and who's got coats. That mental layaway that happens is you think back and going, you know, I was in this store and they had a display and they had coats and they had sweaters and they had other winter clothing. Mentally, you remember the scene that you saw. We call it a mental layaway for the season ahead. Yes, I want to tell people we're going to have it. It's just like when you walk into, say a Walmart, a Target, some other stores, and even the CVS and Walgreens do this. You go in there in September and you'll see postings on Facebook where people are like, oh my gosh, they got the Christmas stuff out here. Oh, this is horrible, blah, blah, blah. No, what the store is doing is simply giving you a message. They're going to have this stuff. They will have the winter the winter stuff that you want. They're going to have all the Christmas decorations. It's just laying a message. They're not trying to force it down your throats. They just want you to know they're going to have the merchandise. The right message. Okay, so having the right message. We're going to suggest this calculator. Free calculator number 3. Advertising, marketing, and promotion. It's a calculator that you can take and download. This was a TV commercial many years ago. A nice couple in their home, and she puts down a plate of spaghetti in front of him. And with a thick Italian accent, the man says, "That's a species spice meatball." And you hear a person in the background, you hear the clip, and he goes, "Cut, second take." And she comes back over and lays a plate of spaghetti in front of him and goes, "Here, honey." And he goes, "Ooh, that's a species spice meatball." Cut, take 3. And it goes on several times. Having the right message. So if we were together today, I would ask you to tell me, what was the commercial? What was the commercial about? What were they selling in this commercial? Because they only say it right at the end. The answer I generally get from people is that they were selling ragu. They're selling ragu spaghetti sauce. No, not so. What they were selling was Tums. Because the man kept saying, "Mamma mia, that's a species spicy meatball." All right, and it was upsetting his system. What's my point here? The message was wrong because in research, this commercial produced no results for Tums because the message was not correct. They were too cute. Sometimes we get to be too cute with our messages, not selling directly as to how it should be done. Advertising, marketing, promotion, this is why we put the calculator up there for you, is designed to take and say, let's plan things. Let's put things together. The rule in our family business was that every November, I had to complete this, except when the advertising, marketing, promotion calculator was created, it was done on a legal pad. So I produced it in a chart that you can download, much easier to work with in today's technology. And I was prepared to hand to my father, here's the plan for all of the calendar year. So by November 1st of 2021, I'm going to take and have, here's my plan for the following year. I am buying the stuff that I want for advertising. the marketing, promotion, the television, the radio, newspaper, direct mail, magazine placement, any of that stuff. I'm not being sold by someone walking in the door trying to sell me some ad space. I am doing it according to my plan, not according to somebody else's plan. All right, so that's the point about that one. All right, let's get ready for the fourth one. How do you know if you're going to win at this? How do you know if you're successful at this? I've got 3 measurements that I want to suggest to you, and they are on this page, which in itself, that page has 22 calculators on it. How do you know if you're really going somewhere with what we've talked about today? Average sale. So let's take, say, the first 6 months of this year. It'll be up next week. What's the total gross sales in your store for the first 6 months of the year? And what's the total number of times your register goes cha-ching, cha-ching? The answer, when you do this little bit of math, is what's the size of the average sale in your business? Go back and do it for 6 months prior, 6 months prior, 6 months prior. Is it growing? Are we just ringing up sales, or do we have salespeople? And is this number increasing? Number 2, average line count. Hopefully your point of sale system can tell you how many items you have sold. So again, we'll do it the same number of 6 months. And you divide the number of items sold. And so for example, if I sold 2 something trinkets, that's 2 sales. Even though it's the same item twice, I've sold 2. That's how we do the line count. And you divide it by the total, same number of total transactions we had in the last calculation. That says, as an answer, that's the number of items the average customer is buying. If your number is low, like 1 point something, I don't think you really have salespeople. I think you just have cashiers. The more you can drive the average line count up, it says that your people are participating. It says you're doing all these 8 steps pretty dadgum well. And the third one is a very unique ratio that we've calculated called personal productivity ratio. And that is you take your payroll and you divide it by the gross profit. This tells you how much profit are your people driving for your business. Okay. What are they selling? Are they selling the things that are on sale that a person comes in for? Or are they getting the person to look at something else that has a better margin, perhaps more expensive? That's the third ratio. Great buyers track all of these numbers and look at it. A person who runs a great store is not just an accident. It's all done by planning. And it's more than just thinking that all of it's done by simply using an open to buy calculator or service. So bottom line today, the buying and selling is a process. There's a science to it, of which I've shared a lot of the science with you today. And it's important that we pay attention to it. But buying and selling is also an art form. It takes both to make it work if you're doing it right. Science and art, it's a beautiful thing when you do it correctly. As always, I like to close the session with a couple of reminders because I so strongly believe in the work of SBDC. If you are not signed up as an SBDC client, whether business is great, whether business has a challenge, you need to call SBDC and sign up today and say, I want to meet an advisor. I want them to know about me. I want them to know about my business. So as an opportunity comes or as a challenge comes, we're already together. We know each other. There's no get acquainted period, and we can hit the ground running and getting the business going in the direction we want. All you got to do is connect with the Iowa SBDC, and you can get an appointment scheduled with an advisor custom for you. If you have questions about what we are talking about today, I will gladly volunteer my time to visit with you, to talk to you, to explain further any of these concepts that I brought today. Glad to share the information with you and with the advisor that you would have from SBDC. And with that, Brianna, I hand it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. That was another wonderful webinar and a lot of good information. Tom's contact information is still up. Doesn't look like we have any questions, so we'll end a little early today, but this will be up on our YouTube channel, which is Iowa SBDC, along with the other webinars that Tom has done for us. Thank you so much, Tom, for being here and doing all these. A lot of really, really good information. Just going to reiterate again, if you guys have any questions for Tom or anything like that, feel free to reach out to him. Or if you have anything for us, go to our website, iowasbdc.org, and click on request counseling and we can help you out. So yeah, thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate it. With that, I'm going to stop recording and enjoy the rest of your day.